Alright, hey guys, what's up? It's Matt here again with Limitless Fitness. Alright, and this is kind of going to be my first actual meat core video of what my channel is going to be about. I'm going to be giving you guys some more intro stuff kind of later, but I really kind of wanted to get into kind of what you guys can really expect from me and the stuff I'm going to do hopefully further and further down the road. So I kind of was thinking about a bunch of different topics that I want to talk about, and one thing that I was like, what do I want to do first? What's going to be the first great message for me to get out there? And ultimately I kind of ended up on thinking goals, because you can't start any journey without having good set goals that you're trying to reach. So with us starting this journey here, I figured it's the perfect thing to start talking about. So to kind of get into goals or really thinking about anything, I always like to think first about, okay, what is it? If I'm going to do something or think about something or study something, I always like to know, what is it I'm studying? What is it I'm thinking about? What is it I'm trying to set? What is it I'm trying to do? So with goals, I think it's important to first, before you even try to set or think or plan about goals, I think it's always a good idea to ask yourself, what is a goal? What is this thing that I'm setting? What is it that I'm trying to do, work towards here? And really, I've kind of thought about it a lot and pondered, and this is just kind of a good definition that I've come up with that I really like, and hopefully you guys will too. If you don't like it, you don't have to use it. I'm not going to make you do anything. Or if you have anything you'd like to add to it, modify, change, feel free to do that as well. Let me know in the comments below if you think there's something missing from it. But when I think about a goal, what I think of is a carefully organized plan of action that is set to achieve something beyond your current ability with the desire to better yourself or others. Now that's kind of like a long-winded definition there, so let me go over that again real quick. It's a carefully organized plan of action to achieve something beyond your current ability with the desire to better yourself or others. So again, that's kind of a lot to take in all at once, but if you really kind of think about it, it's really broken into three parts. I like to think about things in three parts a lot of times. I don't know, it's kind of a weird thing I have. But if we look at it, we've got our three parts. We've got a carefully organized plan of action. We've got wanting to achieve something beyond your current ability, and we've got bettering yourself and or others around you. So I kind of want to go in next and break down each of those and talk about each of those parts individually and how I came to that kind of conclusion there. So first off, a carefully organized plan of action. And what does that mean? To me, that has a lot to do with your mindset, okay? You can't do anything in life without having the right mindset to do it, especially in a goal of this structure, as we'll get to later. So with mindset is huge. It is everything. It's you being able to wake up every day, step out on the ground, out of bed, and be able to tackle that day and tackle your goal with a drive, a passion, and a purpose. And really, that just feeds your direction and your fuel to reach that goal. And it's always important to know, what is my fuel? What is my desire to reach this goal? Why am I doing this? Again, it should always be to better yourself and or others, but we'll get more into that later. But you can always have specific fuels. So I really want to make myself look good, help inspire others. I really want to help overcome this obstacle to make myself better, help inspire others, things like that. And I kind of talked about direction a little bit earlier, and direction is such an important thing. You always want to have clear, set end results and goals. Now some people will tell you oh, you don't need to set a definitive end goal or a set final to your journey, because you'll become hyper focused on it and you won't care about anything else, and it'll ultimately end up in failure. And I guess I can kind of see where they're coming from, but I still think that that's not the right way to view things. I think you should always, always, always have an end goal, something you're working towards. Yes, the journey is oftentimes the most important part of the whole thing, but that end goal gives you a definitive finishing line. That when you cross that, you know how far you've come. You know how hard you've worked to reach that specific direction. Throughout this, I'm going to kind of go over this in how I approached my goal of doing a half marathon as an amputee, which I just did my first about a little more than a month ago now, and I did my second just 10 days after that. So it's been a blast, and it's been a couple really great runs we've had here. So with me looking at this first part, this carefully organized plan of action, when I first set the goal of running a half marathon, it was 4 years ago, just a little over 4 years ago to the date actually now. So I really didn't know what I was doing then. I'm just like, I remember watching a video link online. I was still a new amputee, freshly off chemotherapy, and I was online just scrolling around browsing, and I saw this video about an amputee who was running a half marathon. I was like, holy shit, that is just cool. And so I was like, I would love to do that. I don't think I ever can, but I would love to do that. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to run a half marathon someday. I'm going to set that goal for myself, and I'm going to just work so hard until I reach that goal. And so eventually, I kind of started working more and more and more towards it. And another important thing I did along with this direction is I set myself up for stepping stones. And I believe that's a really huge part of setting goals with this direction, because like I said earlier, the drawback to direction, sometimes it can be so far away that you don't even get to appreciate how far you've come when you still have so far to go. So I set stepping stones for myself. At first I wanted to run 1 mile, then I wanted to run 2 miles, then I wanted to do a 5K, then I wanted to do a 4 mile, then I wanted to do a 10K, before I even got to the half. And each time I met one of those little stepping stones, I felt this just massive empowering relief, and I felt a little more convinced that, hey, maybe I could do this. And it was such a great feeling, and it helped be that fuel going forward. Like I was talking about earlier, that fuel is so, so, so important. And having that. And what was interesting about it, though, is every time I met one of those goals, I got that awesome, awesome feeling. But still in the back of my mind, I had this like, okay, I know what's next. I know what's daunting. I know what's looming ahead of me. This was just, a step in the journey. And I've got this 13.1 miles that I've got to run. I'll be honest with you guys, when I finished my first 10K, I was like, done. I was completely dead, and I was like, there is no way that I could ever be running and only be halfway done at this point. But I ran my first 10K actually just last April, so it was only a 6-month span between doing my first 10K and doing my first half marathon. And I'll be doing some more running videos later and training up, and particularly as an amputee, stuff like that. Giving my personal advice on that, but it was such a crazy experience, and definitely those stepping stones really helped me out getting there. Now, number 2, what I was talking about is something that is beyond your current ability, and I believe personally that this is the most important part of setting a goal, because there is no point in setting a goal of something that you know that you can already do. Because by then you're not bettering yourself, you're not making others any better, if that makes any sense. You're not expanding your limits, you're not raising your own personal bar. I'm a huge, huge, huge proponent of never comparing yourself to anyone but yourself, because nobody else can compare to you, if that makes any sense. You can, as a runner, you can compare yourself to all of these elite runners, show up to these big half marathons, and just will do the whole thing at 10 miles an hour. And you just can't do that, because if your goal is to someday be there, awesome, go for it, make yourself that good. I highly respect that. But if you're a new runner, you can't compare yourself to them, because you're just going to be at such different levels. You're going to have different body types, probably. You're going to have different muscle mass. You're going to have different metabolism. You're just going to have different cardiovascular levels. There's just so many different keys in there that by comparing yourself to somebody else, it can honestly just lead you to being, just upset in this kind of depressive feeling a lot of times, because you'll feel like you're not as good as the people at the top of that field. And conversely to that, you never want to compare yourself to somebody worse than you. You never want to be like, oh, well, I may not be the best, but at least I'm better than so-and-so who can't even do this. And that's just awful. That just generates bad feelings. That generates ill will towards others. And that is just not a good thing to do or a good person to be. So please, I stress, do not do that. But when I was going throughout my whole cancer journey, I kind of had this saying, and that saying, and there will be more on this again later, was be impossible. And it's kind of like weird for some people to think about at first, like, be impossible, what does that mean? Like, impossible means it can't be done. How can you be something that can't be done? And really, it's just exactly what this second part of a goal is. Doing something to achieve something beyond your current ability. I think we should always set goals beyond what we think or even what we know we can do, so that we have to push ourselves and push ourselves to go beyond what we even thought was possible. And I always told people, I said, if when you were faced with the impossible, you become impossible and you can do the impossible. And I think that's, for me anyway, that's a really like powerful message, powerful thing to think about. It just helps me realize that, you know, I am not limited by what I think that I can do. I am only limited by what I allow myself to achieve. Now, again, with all of this, I understand there are a lot of health conditions out there. I've had a lot of them of my own. Please never push yourself to the point where you are physically hurting yourself. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone. Pushing yourself when it gets hard, when it gets just tough and you just want to give up. But never push yourself if you know that you have a medical condition that you're going to get hurt. Don't do that. Always talk to your doctors, talk to your nurses, pharmacists, family members. Make sure that what you're doing is safe for you to be doing, for not only you, but those around you as well. So on to the third part of setting a goal. And that is, again, I want to say this for each one, but it is such a crucial part of setting a goal. You want to better yourself or others. That's the only two ultimate motivations you should have for reaching goals, because you should never just want to set a goal to just, to bring somebody down. That's a horrible thing to set a goal for. You should never set a goal just to impress other people, or, it's different if you're wanting to be an inspiration to other people, but if you're just wanting to be like, oh, I want to prove that I'm better than you, that's not a good reason to set a goal. And what really helped me come to this realization was a past high school principal that I had. His name was Dan Leffingwell. Fantastic man. I have the utmost respect for him. But he would always tell us at the end of every single assembly, he would always be like, always remember that there are only two types of people in this world. There are those who strive to build others up, and there are those who strive to tear others down. And that's always just been such a resonating thing with me. And I think that, even outside of goal making, this is such a crucial part, and something that should just really be a part of our everyday lives. And it's just, sometimes it's really easy to think about in concept, like, oh, I should help be nice to people, help build them up, help make them feel better. That's a great thing to do. Honestly, it's awesome. But in practice, it's sometimes harder. But we should always be focused every single day about making ourselves better, inspiring others, building other people up, and never, ever allowing our actions to tear other people down. So those are the three parts of the goal. And so next I kind of want to talk about like implementing a goal. So how do we like put this into effect? And I think one of the most important parts of putting a goal into effect is always write it down. You want to have that, or for me anyway, the visual reminder is so key, so important. It helps it always keep in the front of my head what I am working towards. So like with me, I have my fitness is such a huge goal for me right now, but I'm also a student, so I'm always in class, writing papers, taking tests, that kind of thing. It's really easy for me to get like distracted and run down thinking like, why am I putting so much stress and pressure and hardship on myself? It could be so much easier. But when I have those goals written down, I've got my own kind of method of how I keep visually reminding myself, but it just refuels me completely with that like motivation of like, yeah, this is what I'm working for. This is why I'm doing this. Another thing that's good is make them specific. So give them like a specific quantitative number if you can. So like when I was running my half marathon, I had 13.1. That was the background of my phone screen for probably the past year and a half. And it's just now, I just now have changed it, and I haven't set a new one on there yet because I'm still kind of working on setting my future goals beyond here. But that is a great thing to do. If it's a weight you're wanting to get down to, set that number. Now, ultimately, again, you don't have to kill yourself to get down to that specific number. There can be a point where you're like, you know what, I've I've done enough. I've become so much more healthy. I'm at a healthy weight now. I feel good. I'm doing well. I may not have quite hit that number, but I've completely changed my life. And that was the end goal all along. That number just served as kind of a focal point visual reminder. So again, definitely don't get obsessed with the number, but I think it's always good to set. And again, stepping stones. If it's losing weight every 10 pounds or 5 pounds, or hell, every pound if you want, there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with celebrating your success. And even when you do have those failures, just let that be your fuel to even strive harder and harder and become better for just more and more success. And again, third, make them impossible. Make your goals impossible. Make it beyond your current ability. I can't stress that enough, how important that is. Just trying to do something to completely better yourself or those around you. And those are kind of my tips for setting a goal. I'll probably do a video here later. This one's running kind of long, so I'm going to call it off for today. But I'll do a video later about, like, now that we've set our goals and are starting to implement them, I'll do a video stressing more on the implementation and how to reach each of those. And I can go through some of my own goals, more specifically like my half marathon and some of the other things that I've completed here recently. Both with career and personal fitness and just personal emotion and well-being too. So more on that later. Thanks guys for watching. Please comment, like below if you have any questions, concerns, comments, anything you'd like to say or ask. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks again. Don't forget, always stay limitless and be impossible. Thank you.